Hey, lovelies, I'm Queen Lovely. Welcome back. I am going to talk about young Miami, aka Caresha. We're going to take a look at her natal chart and just see what's going on transit wise. So, I've already done a commentary video just talking about the way in which she chose to navigate, conveying the context to her and Diddy's relationship dynamic, where they stand now, and where she stands with the situation. She's been getting a lot of backlash because a lot of people don't like the fact that, she was talking about JT, and a lot of people just feel like she's deflecting from taking accountability as to why her brand has been, stifled, and, some may even perceive it to be on a decline. And, with JT's brand, coming together slow and steady, and it being on the up and up with her just successfully releasing an EP. A lot of people just felt like Caresha, young Miami, she thought that she was the it girl. She thought that, things were about to consistently change, right, and stick for her in an astronomical way. And as a result, she stopped prioritizing her relationship with JT professionally and personally. And now those chickens have come home to roost. And, JT seems to be doing well, independent of, also being with a wealthy man, that being Little Uzi, who's successful in his own right. And yeah, a lot of people they don't care for how young Miami's moving. A lot of people didn't care. And she ended up going off on academics yesterday, but she really didn't go off on academics. She actually went off on a neighborhood talk, and they vowed to never post her again. And same thing with Cardi B. A lot of y'all don't have natural raw talent or interest to sustain y'all. And that's where these urban blogs come in. And once they decide to cut your water off, and they decide that they no longer want to post you, you better have something really solid that's gonna, grab the attention of, the masses consistently, to keep you visible, to keep you current. You better have something solid to fall back on. So we're gonna take a look at her chart, because I'm like, what is the tea and what is going on? And of course, if you would like to book your own session, the link for my booking site is pinned in the comments, as well as my email and my Cash App if you would like to donate. So I think I have looked at Caresha's chart before, and we was going back and forth on whether or not she had a late degree Scorpio rising or a late degree Taurus rising. I'm actually going to go with the late degree Taurus rising, going into her having, mostly as you can see on the screen, a majority Gemini house, because Caresha does give like learning disability. And the only reason why I say that is because when she interviewed on the Breakfast Club, I remember her saying that she was like 12, and the grade that she said, it just didn't match up. And I was just like, huh? And then when it comes to, just if you go back to their earlier interviews, it's not just her dialect, but the way that she puts her sentences together and the way that she would answer certain questions. I could see her having Gemini in the first house, because even though that would make her a dominant Mercury ruled chart, you always got to take the pros and the cons of what the planet, the house, or the sign is doing. And Mercury deals with the mind. Mercury associated with Gemini, which is associated with the third house, specifically deals with early childhood education. Okay. And yeah, I could see her being a Gemini rising. I really can see her being that. Even though it's a small influence, I could also see her being a Taurus South Node, late degree Taurus South Node, conjunct late degree Taurus Ascendant, where her having a little bit of that Venus influence, because it speaks to the things that she leans into. I think when it comes to the Mercury, she leans into the lower vibrating qualities of that Mercury influence, like that criminal, mischievous, meticulous minded, that trickster energy, being duplicitous, like that type of energy. And then with the Venus, same thing. Like, there's a price on everything. Like, I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that. But yeah, I could just see her. It tracks with her having a Mercury ruled chart. So what's going on with Caresha? Why is all of this stuff happening? Caresha has a 12th house south node, and she has a 6th house north node. Another thing is she has such a late degree north node that if she was to reincarnate like right away in the next life, she probably would come back as a Sagittarius north node, because it just goes in order like that. That's always been my astrological theory. That has just been my astrological theory, because I always say that I think Temperance is my mother reincarnated, and my mother was a Scorpio south node. Temperance is born on Thanksgiving just like me, 2021, the year my mother died, and she's the Sagittarius south node. That's just my personal astrology theory. You don't have to subscribe to it. So that's just what I feel deep in my heart, and discernment and intuition. So I say this to say, typically when people have Scorpio on the north node, it kind of means that they're going to have a certain type of upbringing that forces them to learn how to kind of prioritize the themes and the priorities of the material world, of the 3D world, power and, finances. 50 Cent is a perfect example. I think he's a 28th degree Scorpio north node as well. And he's a perfect example of that. And I compare him to Caresha because I think Caresha came up with her mother being incarcerated. Wasn't her mother incarcerated, and JT had a mother father that was incarcerated too? I think they both had parents that were incarcerated. And I think with Caresha's upbringing, it just gives, growing up in the rough streets of the 305 and being a direct product of her environment and circumstances and whatever guidance, even if it was a little bit, that she had. And typically people with this placement, and it's very similar with 50 Cent because he comes from similar early beginnings like that too. It's a situation where, because we always say that the south node and the north node is a balance of the two energies, right? So that Taurus south node keeps them grounded when they're striving towards that Scorpio north node of power and control and, building something that will last, building something that's polarizing. Like the hate that they receive, they thrive off of that to, create, more love for the people that do rock with them. That Taurus south node keeps them very grounded in certain traditions, doing the right thing when it's necessary. It's kind of like Scorpio on the north node is the good bad guy. It's like Robin Hood. Like, yeah, I'm robbing the rich, but I'm giving to the poor. It's that type of energy when you master and accomplish that good balance, okay? So with Caresha, it's like boo-boo. You have this Taurus south node sitting in your 12th house. This is a very karmic life time for her, because the 12th house deals with your most recent past life, and the south node is indicative of your previous soul lives, right? On this soul mission. So with you having your south node there and then it being in Taurus, and the 12th house deals with what's hidden, it deals with the unconscious, it can deal with secrets, it could deal with lies. Whenever you're doing dirt, especially for superficial reasons, for 3D reasons, for materialistic reasons, and you're not making good on that, like it's just selfish, it's strictly for you and there's no good to be gained from it, that shit is gonna come back and bite you in the ass, Caresha. And I think the fact that, because people kept pointing this out, you sit down and you do this interview and you don't even say anything about the victims. You just make sure to say that wasn't your experience of him and he was so good to you, but you say nothing about the victims. Even Misa's double-minded self came out and said something for Cassie, even though she turned around and asked us, were we not inspired and entertained? I mean, even she did that. But you didn't even say nothing. You and Aquarius, Saturn rule. Capricorn over there, Mary J. Blige, who's also Saturn rule, she also didn't say nothing. That's, I don't know. And I think that's what it is, like, that being cold-hearted shit, that shit just comes back to bite you in the ass. It comes back to bite you in the ass. Another thing is we still have to account for the fact that Uranus is in Taurus. It's going to get closer and closer to her ascendant. We know the ascendant deals with like your life path, how you navigate everything else in your chart. It deals with first impressions, how people are perceiving you, why people are dealing with you the way that they deal with you based off of their perception. And as Uranus continues to inch closer and closer to that ascendant, it's going to be harder and harder for her to get back to that harmonious, type of rapport that she had, that she's trying to recreate. And it's interesting because it's creating an opposition to that Scorpio North Node, which speaks to that polarizing energy that people that have Scorpio North Nodes have, where it's like you have people that's really, no matter what, gonna love them and rock with them and so on and so forth. And then you have people that's like, I don't give a fuck. I just don't like them. I hate them, whatever the case may be. So that's that. Another thing is Caresha natally has a Saturn conjunct Moon. This could make her someone by way of how, the women in her life dealt with her when she was coming up, where she may have a hard time processing her emotions. Like, if she's not intentional, and then her Mercury is also in that conjunction too, and let's go real quick. She has a retrograded natal Mercury. I'm gonna go back to the fact that I think she has like a learning disability or something. Because the Mercury deals with the mind and it's in Pisces. Yeah. She's definitely spacey. It's okay. I have Pisces in the third house, so I get it. And listen, I've had my moments too, so I ain't trying to be funny or nothing. But anyways, with that Saturn conjunct that Moon, she has it takes her a while for her emotions to process. And sometimes she doesn't even know how to put her finger properly on those emotions. Like, it may be hard for her to identify how she's feeling and the source and the why of why she's going through what she's going through. It also creates an opposition to that Chiron and Virgo. So that's another thing where and this is kind of common sense. Like, a lot of y'all are not going to be surprised, but she has like some self-worth and some self-image issues. She really does. And it's interesting. Like, I keep hearing the word like disassociation. Like, she almost has to create oh my God. Remember when she said she doesn't like when people call her Caresha? Remember when she had that tweet where she made a big thing and she was like, don't call me Caresha. Like, y'all be coming up to me calling me Caresha, call me Young Miami. And people was like saying, oh, she act like she don't like where she comes from. She has to create an alter ego to really believe what she's presenting. Like, that's the most simple. I don't know how to put it. Maybe later on in the video I'll come back to it. But it's like, she really clings to that alter ego, Young Miami, because there's a lot of things that have happened to Caresha and that Caresha has gone through. But with that Saturn conjunct that Moon Mercury, and Pisces, and then it creates the opposition to Chiron, her mind is twisted. Like, she doesn't even know how to begin to unravel certain things that she's going through. She doesn't even know how to really process it and identify it. And I think in a way, this has become how she moves through life. That's why it's kind of easy for her to turn her emotions off, go stoic, go cold, robot, and just act like she doesn't see what's going on and turn a blind eye, and just once again stay focused on that material, on that money, on that bag, power, building an empire. I'm gonna be the next Oprah, Miss Diddy, Poppy, da 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 da. Because for her, is better than going through and or having to sift through what she's going through on a mental, emotional, and physical level. So she's really good at disassociating, really good, to the point where when she comes back to the way she is, like when she was sitting down with Saucy Santana and whatnot, she really be oblivious to why people feel a certain way about her. She really be oblivious to why people are saying what they're saying, because she knows how to will her mind into, like, we're just gonna focus on this, and everything else that's going on around us is not real. It's not real until we say it's real. And even when I decide to address it and say it's real, it's gonna be real by way of my version, not what everybody else is saying. And with transiting Saturn being in Pisces, which she's already had her exact Saturn return, she's learning some harsh lessons. Yes, your ish is being slowed down to the point where you have no choice but to sit in this shit. You have no choice but to sit in this shit. It just is what it is. Another thing is, she has this Aquarius stellium that goes from the 9th house to the 10th house. Pluto is conjunct her Mars in that 9th house. She's learning spiritual lessons. There's an attempt to evolve her philosophies and her beliefs and her principles in life, because the 9th house is the home to Sagittarius and it deals with that. The universe is attempting to kick into gear a spiritual awakening for her, but this is where free will comes in, because she has to lean into that. She has to lean into that. And the 9th house is Sagittarius. It deals with the truth. So she has to want that for herself. And that's another thing with Pluto leaving Capricorn, right? Which is the sign of her Neptune and Uranus. But let's get into that Neptune sitting in her 8th house. That's kind of a situation where that power of you being able to deceive and you doing underhanded shit to get ahead, you no longer have that what you call it, planetary protection. You no longer have that energy supporting your ability to do it with the ease that you've been able to do it with. So yeah, girl. And even with the North Node being in her 11th house of friendships, acquaintances, groups, organizations, and network, and Aries being a sign about self, there you go. That's her saying, like, nobody ain't call her. I'm sure with the exception of like Saucy and, you know, her mama and her kids, she ain't really got much friends right now. You know, like, that's just what it is. And it's interesting because as it goes into Pisces, that can force her into a sense of isolation as well. Especially, actually, yeah, I forget. So yeah, Saturn has already crossed over her moon, and she's already had her exact Saturn return. But when that North Node gets to crossing over that moon that sits right on the cusp of her 11th and 10th house, I'm afraid that something damaging may come out about what she was doing within the industry that can really change the course of how she is regarded and remembered, because then it's going to be going into that 10th house, especially when that North Node clicks down. It conjuncts that Saturn in her 10th house. Caresha, you better get your shit together. Because if you could start making good now and really working with authentic intention to go on a spiritual awakening, by the middle of 2026, you could be in a totally different place. But if you keep playing these games and not taking accountability, your whole fucking existence, bro, is gonna blow the fuck up starting, I want to say, the end of 2025 going into 2026. And it could be before that, depending on what goes on with Diddy. But just looking at your chart, to have a Pisces North Node conjunct Saturn and Moon that sits on the cusp of your 11th house of network, friends, and hope with wish fulfillment, and your legacy and public reputation, yeah, bro. And the shit that your name is already being, yeah. If I was you, I would book myself a first class ticket to accountability, self-awareness, and repent. Just start repenting right now. Do not play yourself. So yeah. Oh my god, this bug just jumped on my fucking bed. So yeah, I don't know. So that's just crazy, because the way I see it on her chart, like, I'm fucking scared for her. Girl, you better get it together. Pluto will be making a conjunction to her Mars. I already spoke about that. That's pretty much it. So yeah, girl, do better. But I do kind of empathize for Caresha, because I just think that she's been living her life a certain way for so long that she really don't know nothing else. And that's like what she gives me. So I just wish her enlightenment and courage to integrate that enlightenment, because she really does have a tough time identifying and processing her emotions. She really does, and her circumstances have taught her to be cold, to not feel her emotions. It doesn't matter, fuck all that, Google gaga shit, get this money. And then you get into an industry where that's what see, this is why it's important to know yourself. And this is why I'm a bit compassionate and empathetic with Caresha, because you already have that, mind frame and lifestyle embedded in you before you enter a whole echo chamber like that. And then ain't it just your luck when your number gets pulled. But I do think that the spiritual blessing, that it may not look like that as of yet, is that this could really be an opportunity for you to change your life for the better, and you don't know what God has on the other side. And that's where your faith comes in. That's where the ninth house placements and Pluto being there for a while comes in, because I think your belief systems and your ability to stop operating from a lack and scarcity mindset, I think that opportunity is being presented to you. So good luck, girl. Good luck. It's hard, but it will be worth it. If you want to book a session, like I said, information for that is pinned in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit the thumbs up, comment below, and have a great day. Bye.